Welcome, everybody. We are here today on Monday with Melissa Henry, who has a personal brandtography business, as well as Melissa Demple Photography. And she is helping entrepreneurs to get a handle on what their brand is and that real foundational piece of knowing who they are, what they stand for, so that their marketing actually makes sense to their ideal clients. And I love how you have blended that with photography and all of the specialties that you have.
Thank you. Thanks, Carolyn. It's awesome being here.
So tell us a little bit more about what brand actually is.
So it's interesting because most of the time when I hear people talking about their branding, the first thing they think about is what it looks like. So, you'll be talking about, well, what do you like? They'll say, oh, well, I need to fix my brand, or I need to, I want to get more out there. And so I should have more photos. And that's great when you have the photos. But if you have not actually identified some of those foundational elements of your brand, then all of the window dressing that you put on it is not going to make any difference. It's not going to be effective. It's not going to look cohesive. It's going to be confusing. It's not going to tell your message or your story. So what's important about your brand, and when I speak brand in several places. Okay, so I'm focused in on people's personal brands. So getting them out there, getting them they're like super dialed in on the problem they solve and who they solve it for, and the transformations that they have for their clients, and a whole bunch of other stuff around those foundational elements. So that's where I work very highly, or all the time, with my clients, right? But there's other components of a brand too. Also, you have a business brand. And for those of us who are, I wouldn't call myself a solopreneur anymore. I do have people working with me and helping me. But I mean, for solopreneurs and small businesses, you are your brand, no matter what you think. Even if you think you're not, even if you don't want to be, you are, because it's your reputation that people will get a sense of, either when you meet them at a networking event, or you're speaking in front of them, or you are on a call with them, or you're working with them. All of that's reputation, and that is a part of your personal brand, right? It's what all of these things are made up of. And the good thing is, the good news is, you can be intentional about it, right? So you can set things up such that you're putting the things out there that you want people to know about you. And in order to know what that all is, you've got to do the foundational work. It's just all a part of the process. So that's what I mean when I speak about branding. There is a third element. Can you guess what it is, Carolyn? A third type of brand.
Let's see, personal, business.
Mhm.
I don't know.
It's your products. Products have a brand too, right? So we've got to be thinking about things that way. Like, what is it that you want to be known for? So that's what I mean when I'm talking about personal branding and then branding in general. Is that helpful?
Yeah, it's like, how often would you meet a photographer that does brand photos who's like, you're not ready for that yet.
Yeah.
Let's get some of these things in place so that your brand photos actually do what you want them to do. Because we can't just have pictures for the sake of having pictures. There is actually a goal in mind for them.
And what's funny is I have a story about that. Would you like me to tell you?
Absolutely.
Okay. So when I first went full-time in my business, I have been doing photography for years. So I don't know, 13 years maybe. And prior, and I had that business on the side while I was working full-time. And prior to going full-time, I was photographing maternity and newborn clients, right? So then when I went full-time in my business, that's when I sort of discovered that, oh my God, people are doing personal brand photos, which was something I had done kind of at the very beginning, not really knowing that I was doing it. And so it was basically photos for like brick and mortar businesses so that they could, show themselves and what they do behind the scenes and all the things, and get people to trust them. I kind of had that concept back then. I didn't know that's what it was until suddenly I was in the full-time biz world. And I was like, wait a minute, there's personal brand. This is what I used to do. So when I changed niches, I went out there with like, okay, I need to kind of discover what my brand is, right? And so I went out and I did kind of the thing that you do, which is just start working with people and see what's kind of resonating and figure this stuff out. So one of my first clients, she's actually kind of a bigwig here in DC, and she was coming out of federal government space, and she was going to be like starting her own business and actually doing a lot of like public speaking because she's a very big, like that's what she did, right? And I was working with her and I was trying to figure out what the story was really. And we had this great, I mean, literally, it was a really fun day. We had beautiful photos of her. And then she never freaking used them. Never. And I couldn't understand it. And I was like, wait, but they're so great. And then as I really thought back upon all of the things that we had done together, and I just realized that there was no brand there yet. Like she really didn't know how she was going to use those images effectively and like the why behind any of it. She just knew she wanted to do this business, but she really didn't have things set up. So that's why I would say to somebody, look, you're starting a business. Absolutely go get a headshot. People need to know what you look like for sure. But you don't need to be going out and doing the window dressing yet. And you know what that means too? You don't need a logo right out the gate either. You also don't necessarily need a website yet either. And people are like, what are you talking about? I need a place for people to go. Yeah, but figure out what you want first. Like, who do you want? What do you offer? What's your pricing? Like all of these, there's business and brand related things you really need to start getting in place and understanding first before you start heading down the road of the window dressing. So that's the story. But I think what you're saying is, yeah, I 100% won't photograph. I won't go out there anymore. And I did it once more, by the way. I did another one a couple years later, and my client was like, still wasn't using this other one was not using her images either. That's when I realized I needed to start giving people the information they needed in order to build the brand, the foundation. That's when I decided I needed to, I was like, I don't know, am I going to create a course or a coaching program or what am I going to do? And it turns out that, towards the end of last year, I was like, somebody asked me, can you coach me? And I was like, absolutely. Let's do this thing. Cause I can't stand it. I'm like, oh my God, I want people to use the photos for goodness sake. So, and they're not getting this information. They're getting it. I mean, you can Google anything, but there didn't seem to be a program of this nature for people, in this space, like coaches, women coaches and consultants who are growing that online business. I just couldn't find anything related to that. So I said, I better create my own.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's such a cool, unique offer. It makes so much sense with who you're working with and your goals to coach people on how to develop that personal brand, how to get these foundational pieces so that they are then ready for you to take the pictures, and then the pictures actually get used instead of somebody buying a package of pictures and then regretting it and feeling sour about it because they don't know how to use it and it's not doing what they want for them. So exactly. You're just like solving that problem way ahead of time downstream. It's going to be taken care of. So
absolutely.
Genius.
Thank you. And the same thing goes for funnels, right? I mean, we need to have certain things in place before we go down that road. And I could surely speak to the brand piece of that, but what would you say if I said that?
I think something that confuses people a lot with funnels is where to start, because there's so many moving pieces that all have to coordinate with each other. And the most important thing is to start at the end and work forward. So again, it's the foundation. It's the end goal. Get that set and you know what it is. And then you can start building breadcrumb trail towards it.
Absolutely. Well, the same thing applies when it comes to building your funnel. There's components of your brand you need to have in place, because if you are, let's say, I don't know, let's say you're a health and wellness expert, and you don't know who you serve. God, the health and wellness industry is huge. Like, what do you like? What do you want to be known for? That's one thing you want to have in place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you want to know what's the ultimate vision. So I always talk about vision. That's kind of where I start with a lot of my clients, and that is where what do you see as the major impact for what you're doing in the world? When you start with that, then and by the way, your vision can change and modify over time. I think people are thinking they have to be perfect. No, but you got to know where you're headed. Like big, like what's the biggest vision you can possibly think of right now for what you're doing and what impact you can make on the world? Which incidentally is an awesome thing to do. It's an awesome exercise to do, because when you have those really crappy days that we do have as entrepreneurs, then you can immerse yourself back in the reason why you're even doing this in the first place. It's literally the only thing in my mind when you're having days like that that gets you out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
So really understand that. Then I think also you need to understand who you really want to serve, because that has an impact on like where are you putting this funnel? Like where is it going to be visible, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then you really have to understand the problem or problems that you solve for people. So there's a lot to that, much more than you might think. It has to do with, is it a functional problem that someone has? Is it an emotional problem that someone has? How about an economic problem? What areas can you solve the best for them? It's got to be, you need to know what makes you unique. You need to know what transformations your clients are going to have after working with you. And oh my God, you got to have an offer. Right? Like, so there's so much here. I mean, you have to have an offer if what you're doing with your funnel is bringing in revenue. Yes.
Yes.
So to just rewind this just a second, because I think this is really an interesting topic, and then I think I'm taking most of the talking space here. So I want you to jump in and tell me, like, shut up, Melissa, you talk too much. But one of the things that's interesting is when people they're starting a business and they have, and I've made this mistake too. So like it's just a thought process that people have. We have this thing where we're like, I really just want to make money fast, right? I want to make money fast. And honestly, the first thing people typically do is they start posting on social media thinking that's the way, that's the funnel, right? Like I did this too. No joke. And I'm like, okay, that's how I'm going to. So they just get all wrapped up in the social media thing without really realizing that the fastest way to bring a client in is for that client to know you personally, right? So how do you do that? Networking, uh, speaking, things like that, where you're in front of people, where they can get to know, like, and trust you, the personal brand, right? I started off with this saying, you have a brand whether you think it or not. I think that's how I said it. Right. So that's the way that you do it. And then, so those are the kinds of things you need to have in place. If you start serving people and you have an offer, if it is a one-to-one offer, a sales funnel will still work. An automated sales funnel will still work. But then you're talking about potentially bringing a lot of people into your world. And then do you have another offer that you can serve that larger audience where you would be tapped out completely as a service provider? And unless your business model is all about, oh, I'm going to bring in more people underneath me to serve, if that's not the business model, then having a sales funnel, it has to be, the goal has to be to sell something else where you are able to deliver a one-to-many service. Do you agree?
Yeah. I think the key to scaling is in the being able to deliver a one-to-many
Mm-hmm.
offer. People can start with a funnel to build a list. Like,
Yeah. There
it's
you
very
go.
important to be developing your list. So even if you don't have something to sell yet, it's not necessarily a bad thing to get started with a simple list building funnel.
Mm-hmm.
But when you do that, you can still have like a book a call or something,
Yes.
something to get you in front of the person and build that know, like, and trust. I know
Mm-hmm.
funnels can be like instant ATM. There's people who build funnels that, they pour cold traffic into it by spending money on Facebook ads, and they've got it all set up with the upsells and stuff, and they make it work and it brings money in. But that's not my style. I look at a funnel as much more of a long-term investment, building out a road that is going to continue to serve you and not burn those relationships, not offering something too quickly, being gentle with people and respecting where they're at in their customer journey towards working with you.
I like that. Thank you for bringing that up because it's something that I think is important. So, a lot of people, and it kind of goes back to something I heard someone say recently, which was I was on a call with somebody, they told me this. They said, is it like, do you care about the most? Like, what do you care about most? Is it income or outcome? So,
Mm.
I think that's really pertinent in what you just said, because if you have a vision of impacting people in a way that changes lives, then can you set up a funnel like that where you have lots of people coming in? Absolutely. But it really reframes what's the impact that you can have in a one to many way like that. And is that really truthfully, like, get real with yourself? Is that really truthfully going to be the way that you are going to impact the world?
And
Or,
it's a part of your brand too, because the experience that someone has going through your funnel impacts how they think about you. So
absolutely.
when I sign up for a freebie and then it's like, oh, if you like that, you're going to want this. No, thank you. How about this? No, thank you. How about this? No, thank you. How about this? No, thank you. I went through one where that had like 15 of those. I thought we had stopped doing that, but no, it still exists. So, that soured my feeling on that person.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean that's a really good point. It's all a matter of like we're all, and by the way, we are all here. Every entrepreneur better be thinking about the income because the income is the only way we make the outcome. So I don't see one or the other as being better or worse. I just think that if you want a personal brand that is authentic, not based upon just pushing a service, but more about I really care about somebody actually making it. Like I want to make a difference in their life. I want it to change. If you have that, and then you are very purposeful and intentional about how you set that up, including that sales funnel, then I think it's great, even if it doesn't happen instantaneously or whatever. As we're like, I mean, all these marketing messages, it's crazy. They will just be, oh yeah, you can make X number. Well, sure you can, but make sure that it's with intention and authenticity behind it.
Is it sustainable? Is it
And
something
is
that
it
you're able
sustainable?
to do it
Absolutely.
once and then never again? Or,
Right.
do you have the knowledge and expertise to pull it off?
And
Because
there's that.
a funnel that converts cold traffic, it's not easy. That takes some skill.
Yeah, and too, it's like I think there's those out there that they're getting into business and they may have an expertise in a certain area, but they're likely still learning parts of their business themselves. And so I would say too that promise of having this instant, recognition as a brand, it can be I think it can be dangerous in a
Mm.
way. Because I mean, you you don't want to overpromise that you can deliver something. So you have to be always thinking, have I had success here? Do I have a proof of concept? Right? Like,
Mhm.
have I helped people? If you've helped people, then by all means, right, you can be in integrity with that. But these, like, it really does bother me whenever I see, and I know you're on in the same boat with me on that one. But like when you see these claims, and I'm thinking, but we don't know it. Like Sure, do a claim. That's great. But I want to know more about that particular person, where they were in their business. How much expertise did they really have? You know, and what were all of those pieces that they already had in place? Because otherwise, that training that you're trying to sell me probably won't work. It either will be inauthentic to me, or I won't have what I need in place in order to make it work. Like we
Yeah,
talked.
there's kind of a lot of times where people have a lot of success with something that they did. So then they're like, oh, okay, I'm going to teach other people how to have the same success. But they don't factor in all of the different pieces that they had, like you said. So it's like, well, yeah, that's one method that may work if you have whatever network that person had and whatever reputation they already had or whatever it is. So yeah, I'm pretty skeptical about those things.
Yeah, but I mean, it's human nature, right? You see that, you're like, oh, well, maybe that will work, and even today,
Yeah,
I'll still
pull it. You have the key. Like, this is it. This is the finally the magic thing that's gonna just turn everything around.
exactly.
There isn't one.
No,
I
no,
think all marketing strategies work once you commit to them. So you have to
that's
find
right.
one that's, like you said, in integrity with you and what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, and you know what? That's a good point because when you know those foundational things about your brand, then you're not as likely to click on those get rich fast schemes, right? Tactics, whatever word you want to use. So you're not likely to do that because you already know I'm committed to this visibility plan that I have put in place. I'm committed to it. And the reason I'm
Better.
yeah, and the reason that I'm committed to it is that I completely understand how all the puzzle pieces fit. So I know where I'm headed. I know who I want to impact. I know what my offers are. I've got all of that stuff in place. So now I know where I need to be in order to go along that path of reaching my goals and reaching my vision.
Yep.
Hmm.
So you have a free masterclass. Tell us what people learn in that.
Okay, so and I thought that I would have it done, and I don't because here's what happened. I started laying it out and started realizing there's more. I have more that I want to share. I have more that I want to share. So, what I'm going to do at the end of this is, and in fact, I just sent you a link before we went live. Did you see it? Okay, so what people can do is if they're interested in getting access to this, they can go to that link and they can just register to. And it's just a general link for me. And then when that masterclass is released, I will send that to them. And it's going to be a video and a workbook. And what we're going to be doing is going into like what elements of your personal brand should you look at, and I'm going to outline those and say, okay, go into this part, this part, this part, and figure out what the answers to those questions are. And when you do that, then it's going to be okay. Now we know. I'm going to give you kind of an overview of the 12 most common ways of getting visibility for your brand. And then when we go through that, we're going to start identifying what's going to be right for you based on those initial questions. So, it has to also do with where are you in business too. So all of those things are going to then that's the bow, right? So now we know, okay, well, here's what my brand is. Here's where I'm at in business. Here's where I want to go. And these particular ways of being more visible make most sense to me. And then you can set up the strategy to make them happen.
Oh, very nice. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
you also do coaching, personal coaching to help people really uncover their brand so that they are ready to take the step of having those beautiful photos of themselves on their webpage like I have.
Yay! Yes, I absolutely do that. I have a 6-month coaching program. I also do some one-off calls. So sometimes people just want an hour or so, maybe two, to really dive deep into some of these areas that maybe they've done some of the work, but they're having questions around. So I also can do that. But my coaching program is the one where we're diving into all of it. And then by the end of that program, you have your brand blueprint. It's a strategy document that is everything about your personal brand and where you're headed. And that's something that you can share with your graphic designer, with anyone who's doing your website, with anyone who is coming on board your team, so that they have an understanding of what your brand is, because you want to hire people that actually are in alignment with that. And not only that, I mean, it's kind of something that you can have going forward forever. So as things change, you can go back to it because you already understand and know the training. So you understand how you're going to approach it. So it's, and not only that, I have other people like you, by the way, who are training in my program. So we've got like, your sales funnel training, which is my group is enjoying now. And we're bringing on other experts to talk about things like, your messaging. We're talking about PR. We're talking about systems, all of the things that you need to start thinking of after you've got those elements in place, or even during, because some things are like linear and other things are iterative, right? You're like, oh, well, now that I have that, I need to go back and refine that. And then, hey, I might need to start putting a system in place here for my social media or what have you. So it's really a holistic thing. It's a holistic program that I really wish I had when I was starting out. That's what I'm creating, is what I think will help people the most.
I love it. That's fantastic.
Thank
so
you.
Is this the same link that people can go to learn more about that, or is there a different link for that?
So I don't have a link prepared for you for that.
We'll get it and put it in the show notes.
Yeah, that would probably be best. Otherwise, I'm going to be hunting and pecking. So yeah, I think first and foremost, let's just, people can go and get because actually that visibility training is going to be it's going to become part of my program. So it just gives you an idea of how this program works.
Yeah, you get a taste of working with Melissa and getting what it's like getting coached by her. All right. Are there any final tips that you would like to leave us with?
Final tips. I guess I would say that if you have not, there's several things I think are key here in your branding. And so I would say the vision is number one. So we talked about that. It literally is kind of the North Star for anything you're doing in your business and with your brand. So knowing that vision, and if you want to really get into that, just, get yourself out of your business for a while. Sit down and think about what's literally the biggest thing you could see that you could possibly do in life, and just free form thought flow, like let it like words go down on a page, journaling it out, right? And then with understanding what that vision is, understand your why. So your vision comes from your why typically, so connect them. If I want to help, let's say, okay, so for my vision, I want to help thousands of women entrepreneurs never have to go back to a full-time job again, because they understand where they're headed and they're creating the business of their dreams, and they're going to be able to get wealthy doing so. So there is no more, you're not going to need anybody else in your life, right? I mean, you need people, but that's not what I mean. You're not going to feel like we have so much power, and we sometimes don't remember that. And I want to be the person that helps them remember that. And so that is actually, so if I want to help thousands of women do that, and then I have a bigger dream even of helping photographers as well, because that's a group of people that I understand super well. And I know how I can help them make a better business through their own brands.
Yeah.
And then even like connecting those photographers with those entrepreneurs that need them. I mean, it's a big vision. That's huge, right? So then I go, well, why do I have that vision? Why is that important to me? And it's important to me because in my own life, I felt trapped and I've told this story a number of times to people, but I felt completely trapped in a job that was sucking the life out of me. And I thought I couldn't quit. I had told myself a story that there's no way I can quit because we don't have enough, right? And it was the enough story over and over and over again. So the universe forced me out, literally. Like I would have been in the hospital if I had not quit that job. So that's my why. That comes from that. And I know that. And if you know that, that's huge. If you have the vision and you know the why, that's the stuff that gets you up in the morning, as I said earlier. And so that's the tip I guess I would leave, because we could go down the whole list of things, but I really think that even if you've done the work before, do it again. Check back in. Is that vision still the right vision for you and your brand?
Yeah.
Is that helpful?
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely been there too. The
Yeah.
soul-sucking job.
Yeah, right? No bueno. We're not doing this again.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming on. And
Thank you, Carolyn.
we'll leave it there.
Thanks so much.